A great thinker once said that there's no such thing as a coincidence. Notice how every major event in your life somehow leads up to the next? It's all connected. Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes was one such person. He never believed in anything happening which was a coincidence. There was always a reason, one just had to find it. Well, Sherlock might have been doing so and solving cases, but history has not been so kind to us. Throughout history, there have been coincidences that one wouldn't believe if not caught on camera. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Celeb Central. So today we're going to have a look at the top 10 scariest coincidences to be caught on camera. You don't want to move from your seats as we take a glimpse at some of the scariest on-screen coincidences. Make sure you stay until the end to know about the scariest of them all. Let's begin. Number 10. Robert Lincoln on the scene of 3 presidential assassinations. Robert Todd Lincoln, eldest son of Abraham Lincoln, resigned his U.S. Army commission and moved to Chicago with his distraught mother after his father's death. He remained active in politics, accepting the post of Secretary of War in the administration of President James A. Garfield in 1881. That July, Lincoln was at the railroad station in Washington, ready to travel to New Jersey with Garfield, who had been in office less than 2 months at that time. Before their train left the station, however, a deranged, disgruntled office seeker named Charles Guiteau shot Garfield in the back. The president died of complications from the wound 2 months later. In 1901, President William McKinley invited Lincoln to Buffalo, New York, to attend the Pan American Exposition. Lincoln arrived while the event was already in progress and was heading to meet the president when the anarchist Leon Czolgosz fatally shot McKinley in the chest and abdomen in front of a crowd of well-wishers. Lincoln, who in the latter part of his career served as president of the Pullman Company, was said to have wryly remarked that there was a certain fatality about the presidential function when I'm present. Number 9. Mark Twain and Halley's Comet. The periodic comet known as Halley's Comet returns to Earth's vicinity about every 75 years. Halley's Comet was in the skies again when the celebrated author Samuel Langhorne Clemens, better known as Mark Twain, was born on November 30, 1835, in Florida, Missouri. By 1909, 74 years had passed, and Twain offered a prediction that his own death would, like his birth, coincide with the comet's appearance. As it happened, Twain died of a heart attack on April 21, 1910, the day after Halley's Comet emerged from the far side of the sun. Number 8. Violet Miss Unsinkable Jessup. To provide for her family, the 21-year-old became a ship stewardess as well, working on the Royal Mail Line before moving on to the White Star Line. Jessup was serving on board the Olympic when the liner collided with the HMS Hawke near the Isle of Wight. Jessup then made the move to the Titanic in time for the Unsinkable ship's maiden voyage in April 1912. When it sailed out of the Southampton en route to New York City, she later wrote in her memoirs of the unforgettable night of April 14th and 15th, when the ship hit an iceberg and sank, taking some 1,500 people along with it. Jessup helped other women and children into lifeboats before climbing into one herself. One of the ship's officers placed a bundled-up baby on her lap. The third White Star ship, the Britannic, was requisitioned as a hospital ship after World War I broke out. Remarkably, Jessup, by then a nurse in the British Red Cross, was serving aboard the Britannic in November 1916 when the ship struck a mine planted by a German U-boat in the Aegean Sea. Though the explosion caused extensive damage, only 30 people died. Jessup continued working on cruise ships after the war, eventually compiling a 42-year career at sea before her retirement. Number 7. John Wilkes Booth and the Lincoln Connection. Unlike his now notorious brother, Edwin Booth was a devoted supporter of the Union during the Civil War, but he also had a more personal connection to the martyred President Abraham Lincoln. In late 1864, Lincoln's son Robert Todd was traveling via train from New York to Washington, D.C. During a stop in Jersey City, New Jersey, he stepped back on the crowded platform to let others pass by, pressing his back against a stopped train. When the train began to move, Lincoln fell onto the tracks and would have been gravely injured or worse if a stranger hadn't caught him by the collar and hauled him back up onto the platform. As he later wrote, Lincoln immediately recognized his savior as the famous stage actor Edwin Booth and thanked him. Number 6. Civil War and the McLean Front Yard. In the summer of 1861, Wilmer McLean and his family were living on his wife's plantation near Manassas Junction, Virginia. On July 21, 1861, Confederate and Union troops clashed in the first major battle of the Civil War, along the small stream known as Bull Run, which ran through McLean's property. By the end of 1863, McLean and his family had relocated to the small hamlet of Appomattox Courthouse, some 120 miles southwest of Manassas Junction. McLean was approached by Confederate Colonel Charles Marshall for assistance finding a suitable place to host a meeting between General Robert E. Lee and his Union counterpart, Ulysses S. Grant. That afternoon, Lee surrendered his army of Northern Virginia to Grant in McLean's parlor, which Union troops later stripped for mementos of the historic occasion. Number 5. Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and the 50th U.S. Independence. When the Continental Congress convened in 1775 in Philadelphia, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams became fast friends. The tall, lanky Virginian and stocky Massachusetts native worked together to draft the Declaration of Independence and spent time together as diplomats for the new United States in Europe. Their relationship frayed, however, when Jefferson succeeded Adams as president in 1801. On opposite sides of the Republican and Federalist divide, the two men remained estranged until 1812. When Adams sent Jefferson a New Year's greeting, their reconciliation spawned a remarkable correspondence that lasted for nearly 15 years. On July 4, 1826, as the country celebrated 50 years since declaring its independence from Great Britain, the 83-year-old Jefferson passed away at his Virginia estate, Monticello. The 90-year-old Adams, on his own deathbed in Quincy, Massachusetts, and unaware of his friend's death, whispered a few last words: "Thomas Jefferson survives." Number 4. William West and William West. In 1903, at the Leavenworth Prison in Kansas, a medium-security prison of the United States Penitentiary, two people with the same name and identical faces were booked to the prison. When the staff went through their mugshots and, after some confusion, realized they were not the same and not even related, they quickly made the charges. These were the mugshots of William West and William West, and they are part of the reason why fingerprints came into use for identity records. Number 3. Bullets of Gallipoli. Remembered as one of the bloodiest battles of modern history, the Battle of Gallipoli is hailed as a national consciousness movement, giving birth to the independence of Turkey, Australia, and New Zealand. It is said that about 6,000 bullets fell per square meter ground. On the 100th anniversary celebration, a private collection was opened to the world in Turkey, where many bullets piercing each other can be seen. So many coincidences. One can't believe it without seeing it. In total, the battle consumed the lives of more than 500,000 soldiers and war personnel. Number 2. Unexploded Shell and the Sign. In a tree with an unexploded shell from the World War I, one can find a sign above it saying "Beware of death" in German. Now, if the sign was there before the shell found its way to the tree, or it was put up as a warning sign after finding it too dangerous to dislodge and as a warning sign for anyone coming too close, it makes up for one of the weird coincidences and at the same time scary too. Number 1. Cheating death. In a video that surfaced a few years back, a man can be seen escaping death during a bull racing festival. The man can be seen escaping the first bull near the wall of a building by dodging it. In the meantime, a second bull rushes toward him and he dodges it, while moving into the middle of the road where two more bulls rush at him and collide with each other after missing him. And as he moves to the side on the road, the first bull rushes at him from behind, and who he escapes from as another is rushing from the front. These two bulls also collide, and the man escapes death with not so much more than a few scratches on him. And while you're here, go ahead and check out one of these two videos on your screen. We'll see you there.